In this video, we'll learn Lightning Record Form. So the Lightning Record Form component we use when we have to quickly create a form that allow us to add, view or update a record. The Lightning Record Form component provide us some helpful features like you can easily switch between the modes, view modes and the edit mode. By default, when the form loads, it is in the view mode and you will see a pencil icon next to the field. On click of that, you can immediately switch to the edit mode. Then this forms gives us two buttons by default like cancel button and save button, and on click of save you can update or create the record and use the object's default record layout with support for multiple column. So this forms gives us a freedom to choose the column layout, like whether you want the form in one column layout or two column layout based on the number you mention in the columns property. Apart from that, you can load the fields based on the compact and full layout that we'll see in the example. The other very important point you need to remember with this form is very less customizable. So whenever you want to achieve some customization, always go with the other forms like the Lightning Record Edit form or Lightning Record View form that we'll cover in the next video. And the very key point here is whenever possible to boost performance, define fields instead of layout. Specify a layout only when the administrator, not the component, needs to manage the provision field. So this is a very important point, right? There is a slight difference between when to use layout, when to use fields. So whenever your administrator gonna handle everything, then go with the layout. When you want to handle yourself within the component, go with the fields property. So let's go and see what all power we have with this form, like what all the attributes we're gonna use, what all things we can pass to this form. So the most important property is the object API name. This attribute is always required with this Lightning Record Form component, and in this you have to specify the relationship between the account and object. Basically in this attribute you have to mention what's your object. Basically it's an account or contact or opportunity, and the key point to note here is event and task objects are not supported with this form. Okay, the second attribute is the record ID. This attribute is also required only when you are editing or viewing a form. For creating it's not required, but for editing or viewing the Lightning Record Form, this attribute is very much needed. Then we have the fields. We have to pass the fields as an array of string. Fields tells the form what all fields you need to render in the form. Okay, and this field display in the order you list the fields in the JavaScript. Okay, we'll see everything one by one. That time it makes more sense instead of theory. Then we have another property, layout type. This property specify whether you want to specify a full layout or a compact layout design. Then we have a mode. You can explicitly set the mode, whether you want to show the form in the edit mode, view mode or read only mode. And then we have a property columns. We use this attribute to show the multiple columns in the form. So let's go and see our first scenario, that is create a record using Lightning Record Form. And to start using the Lightning Record Form, we need some imports, and the import reference of Salesforce object and fields comes from the @Salesforce schema. This thing you need to remember always, because this now onwards we're gonna use this particular import heavily. So to tell our form which object we want to use, we need to import the object reference, and for that you need to use this import object name from @Salesforce/schema your object reference. Object reference can be account, opportunities, case or your contact, any, or it can be a custom object as well. Then from that object you need to fetch some fields as well, right? Some specific field, whether a type, industry, name, anything, right? So for that you need to import individually each field. Suppose I'm importing a name, so it will be import name from @Salesforce schema object, that is account dot name. And once you imported it, you need to map those fields to our Lightning Record Form component. So first attribute that we discuss is the object API name. In our case, the object name will be an account, so account will map here. Then the fields, as I showed in the previous video, fields will be passed as an array of string. So if suppose we imported 4 fields, so we need to arrange those 4 fields in the form of array and map it to the fields. Then there is a property on success. This is only required when you want to perform some action after your record created. So it means once you create or update the record, you want to show some toast message, that time this method is required. So let's go to our VS Code and see this in a demo. So I'm in my VS Code. Let's create a new Lightning Web component. I'll give this name record form demo. So it's created the component. And the first step, we need to import some references. Like first thing, we need to import which object we're gonna use. So I'll say my alias name account object. It always give your alias in the capital letter when you are referring an object or fields. So we have to import the reference from @salesforce/schema and your object name. In our case, our object name is account. Then we need to fetch some fields from this particular object. For that, you need to follow the same syntax. So I'll say name field, and it will be account dot name, and this should be the field API name. Okay, and then I want to import annual revenue field, and that should be from the same path, only the field API name will be different. Annual revenue. Then I want, again I'll import 2 more fields quickly, and I'll say one field is type field, another one is the industry field, and the type field imported from account.type, and industry field imported from account.industry. If you guys are confused where we can find this name, I'll show you quickly that as well, because that's very important. Go to the setup. Within the setup, you will get the object manager. You select the object manager and go for your object name, that is account. Account object name, API name is account, that's why we are using account here. After that, you go to this object and choose fields and relationship. Here you can find all the names. So my name for account name, my field name is name, so I'm using here name. I look for annual revenue. This is my field name here, ANR capital and both without space, so I'm using that name. Likewise, you can find all the field names here. Don't use field label, you need to use the field name. So now we have imported all the fields and the objects, so we need to store into a variable now, because we want them to use in the HTML, and to use anything in the HTML we need to store it into a variable. I'll say object name equal to count object, and I want my field list. As I already said, my record form takes the fields in the form of array of strings, so by default these are the string formats. So name field, annual revenue field, type field, and the industry fields. So I have both things that is required for me to create a record. Right now I don't need record ID because I haven't created a record. Right, so what we're gonna do here is, now we go to our HTML and create our form, that is lightning record form. And before that, I'll create a card, and I give this lightning record using create record using lightning record form, and here we're gonna call lightning record form. Within this record form, we need to pass some attributes, so we'll say object API name, and we'll map the API name that we are importing. So it automatically said, tell to this form you have to import the object account. Then we have another attribute, that is fields, It will take array of fields, so we'll map this field list to the fields. So by this is the default or like the basic structure that is required, but I want something like once I create the record, it should show me the toast message as well, some indication to the user so that the user knows something has been created, right? For that, what we'll do, we'll use another property on success, and it will call the method on success handler. So once my record has been created, it will return and call this success handler, and then this success handler will receive an ID and will show that ID on the screen. Okay, so let's do that. So let's quickly create a method. That method will receive an event, and in the event it will receive an ID, and to print that ID will say event.detail.id, because this is the standard component given by Salesforce, and we already know when a child pass something to the parent, it means it will come in the form of detail, right? So we are catching the event in the form of detail.id, and then what we want is we want to show a toast message, and we already know how toast message works. In previous video we already created that. So first thing, we need to import the power to show the toast, that is show toast event. So now we are importing the show toast event from lightning / platform show toast event. Once this event constructor is available, we call or we'll create the event. So to create an event, we'll say new show toast event. It will take few property like title of the toast, we'll say account created. Then we need to pass message, what message you want to show on the toast, we'll say record ID, and then we'll say event.detail.id and variant success, because we know this method will only call when the record is created successfully. So variant is success, and let's store this into a variable toast event, and we'll dispatch this toast event. So we'll call the dispatch event method and pass our event. So now our form is ready, our toast is ready. Now it's time to test it, and for that we need to deploy, and before deploying we have to update the meta file. So meta configuration I'm updating, I'm keeping the target again the lightning app page. So let's deploy this now. It is deployed now. Let's go to our org. I already created an app page, you guys can create it. If you don't know, you can watch my previous videos. So let's go and edit the page. Let's search for our component record form demo, place it to the first column, hit save, and let's go back. So now you can see that with the lightning record form tag or the component, we are able to create a form. It's showing us only those fields that we have mentioned. We have mentioned we need a name field, annual revenue, type, and industry. By default, it's giving us the save and cancel buttons. Layout is single column. So let's create a record now. I'll say my first record form. I'll give some revenue. Here I'll select prospect. I'll take industry, agriculture. And if you see, the fields are almost like the same order that we have mentioned, like name, revenue, type, and industry, and name, revenue, type, and industry. So it always load in the order you define in your JS file. So enter the fields. I'm hitting the save. It will create a record. I'm copying this ID now. So this is the ID of our record. Okay. And now a record has been created, and to verify that you can go to accounts, just go to app launchers, select accounts, and in accounts you can see this is my record, my first record form, and it's prospect, agriculture, whatever we have defined is created that record. Okay, let's go to our VS Code now. And now our second task is to display the record, right? So for before that, let's go to the slides, and I have a slide for display record as well. So we can display the records in two modes, view mode and the read only mode. And to display the records we need a record ID, because to display an existing record then definitely it has some record ID and we need that record ID. And in this case I'm gonna use the same record ID for the record that we have just now created. I copied that record ID, and if you miss to create copy the record ID, you can inspect, and in the console you will see that record ID. I already consoling it. We're gonna use this record ID. Let's go back to our VS Code and see how this works. So let's create another card. I'll paste this ID here for time being. Let's create another card, and let's say display record here. Record using lightning record form. And now here I don't want on success handler right now because I'm just displaying the record, and I'll say record ID, and that record ID I'm passing hard codedly right now. I'll show you how it works dynamically as well, but for time being, to understand the concept, we'll go with the hard coded ID. We'll keep the fields and the object name same. We're just changing the record ID, and let's deploy this component now. Let's go back to our refresh the page. So now this is my second card, and now you can see it's fetching the same details that that particular record has, like prospect, agriculture, my first record form name, and it's giving us only the view mode. You can switch to the edit mode using clicking this pencil icon, but by default it's in the view mode now. Let's go to our second scenario. I don't want the form to be in the view mode, I want it to be in the read only mode. Let's go to our VS Code and let's copy paste the same card again and paste it below. I'll say display record in read only mode using lightning record form, and here the only extra thing you have to add is a new attribute called mode. I'll say read only, and let's deploy this. Component is deployed. Let's go to the org, refresh the page, and now we have three cards, first with the create, then display record in edit read only mode. Now you can see it's displaying the details, but in read only mode you can't edit it like the previous one. You can edit using clicking on this pencil icon. So this is our third approach in which we introduce the mode. Now let's go back, and now we'll go to the another one, that is edit a record using lightning record form. The approach will be the same, and we'll use the record ID, we'll use the object API name. This time we'll understand how columns works, how edit mode works, how layout type works. And you already seen I have used a fields property, because either you use field properties or you use layout type. Layout type you should use when you want to give the control to your administrator to design the layout, and if you want to take control in your hand or to the components hand, we'll go with the fields. And always from the performance point of view, fields are preferable. So let's go and create the edit form now. I am back to my VS Code, and to create the edit form I'll just copy paste the same thing again, and I'll say edit record using lightning record form. I'll keep the record ID as it is. I'll keep the object API name as it is. I'll use the fields only for the first time. I'll say mode edit, and I want columns to be 2. Right now by default it's showing column 1. I want this form to be shown in the 2 column layout. Okay, and I haven't talked about right now a layout. I'm just showing you a scenario in which I'm using fields with the mode edit and the columns. Okay, let's deploy this. It's deployed. Let's go back to our page, refresh the page. I'll go to the fourth card. Now the heading is edit record using lightning record form. Now you can see by default my form is in editable mode. So this mode is setting this form by default to the editable mode. It's showing me only those fields that I have mentioned. Those are the 4 fields. Now all the forms showing us everything in the 1 column layout. Now as I explicitly said I want 2 column layout, it's showing me in the 2 column. It has a save button. And the other beauty of these forms, they build on top of lightning data service, and as I said lightning data service use the cache, and if somebody updates the record it automatically updates the other component wherever the data has been used. So I'll show you the example straight away. So see, this is one component, this is another card, and here the account name is my record form, here also my record form. Now if I update it, I'll say I'll update to my record form 1 and hit save. I don't need to refresh the page, it automatically invalidate the cache in the lightning data service and it automatically fetch the fresh data. Let's try this. I hit save. As soon as I hit save, now you can go to all the components and you can see it's automatically updating it. Even though these cards exist in a different component, there also it will work. Okay, it's not like I'm using all the cards in the same component, that's why it's working. You can try it your own. You can create another component, use the same technique that we are using, and once you update it, it update the other component as well. And in the edit mode, as soon as I update the record, it went back to the view mode. Okay, now let's go and see the layout attribute. For that I'll just copy paste the same card and I'll say edit record with layout using lightning record form. If you are using layout, you don't need to use the fields, and I'll say layout type. There are 2 types of layout, either we can go with full or with compact. So I'll show you a demo with compact. You try yourself with the full layout. So layout type compact. So whatever fields that has defined under the compact, it will use those fields to build the form. If you go with the full, it will create the form with all the fields that are mentioned in the full layout. So let's deploy this. Let's go back to our page, refresh the page. I'll change it to record page and let's deploy this. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll place this component first in the record page. Okay, let's go, and for time being what we can do is I can go to my accounts record page. I'll edit this page and I'll say record form demo. After adding that particular target only, you able to see this lightning form demo under the record page. So I'll place it here on the right side. Okay, now you can see our whole form is still working fine. Let's save this. Let's go back. I haven't changed anything right now. I have just used the meta tag so that my component should be visible. Now what I want is I want my IDs to be dynamic, right? And you already know how you can fetch your IDs and the object name dynamically. So I can do is like @record ID @API, and similarly I can use another property object API name, and to use @API we have to import this from the LWC package. Now you can directly map your record ID to record ID and object API name to object API name. So this will also work. Okay, I'm not gonna change for other things. Let's try with the only one with the compact layout. Okay, let's save, push. But in this case, this particular card will not work, or this particular form will not work in the app page, because in app page record ID and object API name will not be available. These two properties only available by default in the record page. So it's deployed. Let's refresh the page. And now you see it's still showing us the form with the correct data. If I update it, it still work. It updated here, it updated here, even though it's updated here as well. This is how your Lightning record form works statically or dynamically. Based on your requirement, you can play around with it. And in the next video, we'll see the other base components. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.